oinu kata Sarvendriya durbala Shina kalevara Bhoga bhave dhukita anta Bhoga bhave dhukita anta Jnana lavahin bhakti rase vanchita Bhakti rase vanchita Armora ke habe upa Armora ki habe upa Patita bandhu tuhun Patita dhamaha Kripaya uthavo tava pai Kripaya uthavo tava pai Vicharite abhi ahi guna nahi pao ibi Vicharite abahi guna nahi pao bi Kripa koro chodao to vichar Kripa koro chodo to vichar Tava pada pankaja sidhu piva otao What's wrong with you? Tava pada pankaja sidhu piva otao Bhakati vinoda karopa Bhakati vinoda karopa Prabhu he Prabhu he Prabhu he Prabhu he
Hare Krishna. Hear, O my Lord, my story of sadness. I drank the deadly poison of worldliness, pretending it was nectar. Now the sun is setting on the horizon of my life. It's a little loud. I spent my childhood in play, my youth in academic pursuit, and in me there was no sense of right or wrong. In young manhood, I set up a household and settled down to the spell of material enjoyment. Children and friends quickly multiplied. Soon old age arrived, and all happiness departed. Subjected to disease, troubled and weak, all my senses are feeble now, my body racked and exhausted. and my spirits downcast in the absence of youthful pleasures. Devoid of even a particle of devotion, lacking any enlightenment, what help is there for me now? Only you, O Lord, friend of the fallen. I am certainly fallen, the lowest of men. Please, therefore, lift me to your lotus feet. Were you to judge me now, you would find no good qualities. Have mercy and judge me not. Cause me to drink the honey of your lotus feet and thereby deliver this Bhakti Vinod. So this is a song that is sung by Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur. It is found in his songbook known as Sharanagati. And okay. One second. Something missing here. Okay. Give me a second. I'm sorry. Okay. So now we will chant the verse today. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 2, titled The Cosmic Manifestation, Chapter 7, The Scheduled Incarnations of the Lord, Text 6. So I'll chant and you all can repeat, but we don't need to repeat we don't have to have the audience repeat the verse, just to save time because we've done this yesterday. Dharmasya daksha duhitarya janishta murtyam narayano nara iti swapatah prabhavaha Drishtvatmano bhagavato niyamavalopam Devyastvananga pratana ghatitum na shekuhu. One more time. Dharmasya daksha duhitarya janishta murtyam Narayano nara iti swapatah prabhavaha Drishtvatmano bhagavato niyamavalopam Devyastvananga pratana ghatitum na shekuhu. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. To exhibit his personal way of austerity and penance, he appeared in twin forms as Narayana and Nara in the womb of Murti, the wife of Dharma and the daughter of Daksha. Celestial beauties, the companions of Cupid, went to try to break his vows, but they were unsuccessful, for they saw that many beauties like them were emanating from him, the personality of Godhead. Purport. The Lord, being the source of everything that be, is the origin of all austerities and penances also. Great vows of austerity are undertaken by sages to achieve success in self-realization. Human life is meant for such tapasya, with a great vow of celibacy or brahmacharya. In the rigid life of tapasya, there is no place for the association of women. And because human life is meant for tapasya, for self-realization, factual human civilization, as conceived by the system of Sanatana Dharma, or the school of 4 castes and 4 orders of life, prescribes rigid disassociation from women in 3 stages of life. In the order of gradual cultural development, one's life may be divided into 4 divisions: celibacy, household life, retirement, and renunciation. During the first stage of life, up to 25 years of age, a man may be trained as a brahmachari under the guidance of a bona fide spiritual master, just to understand that woman is the real binding force in material existence. If one wants to get freedom from the material bondage of conditional life, he must get free from the attraction for the form of women. women or the fair sex is the enchanting principle for the living entities, and the male form, especially in the human being, is meant for self-realization. The whole world is moving under the spell of womanly attraction, and as soon as a man becomes united with a woman, he at once becomes a victim of material bondage under a tight knot. The desires for lording it over the material world under the intoxication of a false sense of lordship specifically begin just after a man's unification with a woman. The desires for acquiring a house, possessing land, having children, and becoming prominent in society, affection for community and the place of birth, and the hankering for wealth, which are all like phantasmagoria or illusory dreams, encumber a human being, and he is thus impeded in his progress towards self-realization, the real aim of life. The brahmachari, or a boy from the age of 5 years, especially from the higher caste, namely from the scholarly parents, the brahmanas, the administrative parents, the kshatriyas, or the mercantile or productive parents, the vaishyas, is trained until 25 years of age under the care of a bona fide guru or teacher, and under strict observance of discipline, he comes to understand the values of life along with taking specific training for a livelihood. The brahmachari is then allowed to go home and enter householder life and get married to a suitable woman. But there are many brahmacharis who do not like to go home to become householders but continue the life of naishthika brahmacharis without any connection with women. They accept the order of sannyas, or the renounced order of life, knowing well that the combination with women is an unnecessary burden that checks self-realization. Since sex desire is very strong at a certain age of life, the guru may allow the brahmachari to marry. This license is given to a brahmachari who is unable to continue the way of naishthika brahmacharya. And such discriminations are possible for the bona fide guru. A program of so-called family planning is needed. The householder who associates with women under scriptural restrictions after a thorough training of brahmacharya cannot be a householder like cats and dogs. Such a householder after 50 years of age would retire from the association of women as a vanaprastha to be trained to live alone without the association of women. When the practice is complete, the same retired householder becomes a sannyasi strictly separate from women, even from his married wife. Studying the whole system of disassociation from women, it appears that a woman is a stumbling block for self-realization. The Lord appeared as Narayana to teach the principle of womanly disassociation with a vow in life. The demigods, being envious of the austere life of the rigid brahmacharis, would try to cause them to break their vows by dispatching soldiers of Cupid. But in the case of the Lord, it became an unsuccessful attempt when the celestial beauties saw that the Lord can produce innumerable such beauties by his mystic internal potency, and that there was consequently no need to be attracted by others externally. There is a common proverb that a confectioner is never attracted by sweetmeats. The confectioner who is always manufacturing sweetmeats has very little desire to eat them. Similarly, the Lord, by his pleasure potency, can produce innumerable spiritual beauties and not be the least attracted by the false beauties of material creation. One who does not know alleges that foolishly that Lord Krishna enjoyed women in his Rasa Leela in Vrindavan or with his 16,000 married wives at Dwaraka. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chukshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Utaf Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagarjatam Sahagana Raghunathan Vidam Tam Sajivam Sadhvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhan Vitamscha. He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dhinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Haripriye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Dharmasya daksha duhitarya janishta murtyam narayano nareti swapatah prabhavaha drishtvatmano bhagavato niyamavalopam Devyastvanangapritana ghatitum na shekuhu. To exhibit his personal way of austerity and penance, he appeared in twin forms as Narayana and Nara in the womb of Murti, the wife of Dharma, the daughter of Daksha. Celestial beauties, the companions of Cupid, went to try to break his vows, but they were unsuccessful, for they saw that many beauties like them were emanating from him, the personality of Godhead. So here in the purport, Srila Prabhupada, so kind of continuing from where we left off yesterday, since sex desire is very strong at a certain stage of life, the Guru may allow the brahmachari to marry. This license is given to a brahmachari who is unable to continue the way of Naishthika brahmacharya. And such discriminations are possible for the bona fide Guru. The householder who associates with women under scriptural restrictions after thorough training of brahmacharya cannot be a householder like cats and dogs. So the point here is that, for instance, just before that, it stated, they accept, referring to Naishtika brahmacharya, accept the order of sannyas or renounced order of life, knowing well that combination with woman is an unnecessary burden that checks self-realization. So why is it an unnecessary burden? Because that is the way that the Supreme Person, this is the species of life. It is created for the purpose of bewilderment. That the female form of life has been created for that purpose. And so this is so strong that, okay, so I'm going to have to pull up a lot of verses. So hopefully maybe it could be done in that Veda-based app, because otherwise it's going to take forever. Okay, so Canto 3, Chapter 12, Text 28. In Canto 3, Chapter 12, Text 28, Rishi Maitreya is speaking to Uddhava. Rishi Maitreya is speaking to Uddhava, and in this particular section, it is stated how Brahma had a daughter named Vak. Right, the verse, I'm just going to read the translation. O Vidura, we have heard that Brahma had a daughter named Vak, who was born from his body and who attracted his mind towards sex, although she was not sexually inclined towards him. This is an important point. It's not that Brahma's daughter thought that she wanted to make her father fall down. It's not like that. But the point is, her form bewildered the mind of Brahma. Later stated here that Prabhupada states in the purport that Maitreya was feeling hesitant. Maitreya hesitated to state this anomaly on the part of Brahma, who was sexually inclined to his own daughter, but still he mentioned it because it sometimes so happens. And the living example is Brahma himself, although he is the primeval living being and the most learned within the universe. If Brahma could be a victim of the sexual urge, then what of others who are prone to so many mundane frailties? So the point is that Brahma's body is made of intelligence. Brahma's body is made of intelligence. There is nobody who is more intelligent than Lord Brahma in this universe. His intelligence has been given by the Supreme Personality of Godhead himself. He's created from the Supreme Personality of Godhead himself. We are created by our parents and this, that, and we have all subsequent creations. But Brahma, he was not a subsequent creation. He was created by the Supreme Lord himself. He was Padmaja. Huh? Aja, yeah, Padmaja, he was born from a lotus. Huh? No. Padmaja, he appeared from a lotus. He was born from some, father or mother. Supreme Personality of God generated him. Such a person, he creates a daughter. Now, he's doing this. Why? It's part of his duty of creation. He's not specifically trying to get himself enamored or bewildered or anything like that. He creates a daughter and he becomes bewildered, because this is the potency. And she, Vak, she was not trying to bewilder Brahma. This is why we have to understand. It's not that we are against, it's not that women are walking around trying to like make people fall down. This is not the point. The point is that the nature, how material nature works. For instance, this phone is not trying to bewilder us. It's the phone itself is dead matter. Yet our senses become attracted. We become bewildered by it. Why is this so? Because the senses are attracted to the sense objects. Naturally, they are attracted. This is Maya, this is illusion. And this illusion is very strong. And each one of us, because we are encaged within a material body, we are the object of sense gratification to somebody else. Believe it or not. Just like anything made of matter is an object of sense gratification to another sense, to some sense. And when we occupy that, we should understand what that means. We should understand what this matter is capable of doing. Just like when we use this phone, if we do not recognize how this phone can cause our downfall, then it will cause your downfall, because you're not aware of it. So this is why we are reading these things. Okay, more about women. This is all stated in the Bhagavatam. Okay, Canto 6, Chapter 18, Text 26. This I'm going to read an entire section. Chapter 18, Text 26. Okay, anybody know what this section is? No, this is much later. So Diti is upset that, so this is after the story of Vritrasura, okay? Chitraketu, Vritrasura. Now Diti is vowing to kill Indra, right? Because Diti is feeling very upset that Hiranyakashipu and Hiranyaksha were killed. So now she wants a son to kill Indra. So this is the section here. It's quite a section. Okay, so translation. Diti thought, Indra considers his body eternal, thus he has become unrestrained. I wish to have a son who can remove Indra's madness. Let me adopt some means to help me in this. Purport. One who is in the bodily conception of life is compared in the Shastras to animals like cows and asses. Diti wanted to punish Indra, who had become like a lower animal. It's true, Indra became puffed up. But the means Diti was using, her thought in which to do that was also mistaken. Why? Because she was not taking shelter, she was not taking guidance. She was coming up with her own feelings, her own emotions. And just see, because while there is a real problem, Indra is, as Prabhupada stated here, Diti wanted to punish Indra, who had become like a lower animal. So Indra has become like a lower animal, and that's a problem. But because Diti is a woman, less intelligent, she takes matters into her hand, and she is trying to create a solution for a problem which will actually create more of a problem. What is her solution? She wants to kill Indra. She wants to kill the head of the demigods. She doesn't want to reform him, she just wants to kill him, because she's angry. So, okay, next verse. Thinking in this way, with a desire for a son to kill Indra, Diti began constantly acting to satisfy Kashyapa by her pleasing behavior. O king, Diti always carried out Kashyapa's orders very faithfully, as he desired, with service, love, humility, and control, with words spoken very sweetly to satisfy her husband, and with smiles and glances at him. Diti attracted his mind and brought it under her control. Okay? Then, next verse. Although Kashyapa was a learned scholar, he was captivated by Diti's artificial behavior, which brought him under her control. Therefore, he assured his wife that he would fulfill her desires. Such a promise by a husband is not at all astonishing. Remember, this is after Kashyapa gave birth to Hiranyakashipu and Hiranyaksha. Already one time, he gave birth to two big demons who tormented the entire universe. And Vishnu had to appear 2 times to kill his 2 sons. And still, and he's very learned, he's very scholarly, he's in fact even devotee of Supreme Personality of Godhead, and still he becomes bewildered by Diti. Okay, and the point is, such a promise by a husband is not at all astonishing. The Bhagavatam says, don't be astonished. Nothing is astonishing here. Okay, then, That's where the verse comes. This is where Shukadev Goswami states this. He says that in the beginning of creation, Lord Brahma, the father of living entities of the universe, saw that all living entities were unattached. To increase population, he then created woman from the better half of man's body, for woman's behavior carries away a man's mind. So this is where that verse comes in. It doesn't, it comes in this section where it shows that how Kashyapa becomes, bewildered by Diti. Okay. Next verse. Oh, my dear one, the most powerful sage Kashyapa, being extremely pleased by the mild behavior of his wife Diti, smiled and spoke to her as follows. Shri Kashyapa said, O beautiful woman, O irreproachable lady, since I am very pleased with your behavior, you may ask me any benediction you want. If a husband is pleased, what desires are difficult for his wife to obtain, either in this world or in the next? How can he say this after what she did to him in the past? You ask whatever benediction you want. Don't you remember what she did to you? But you forget, right? So this is what happened. This is Maya. This is illusion. See what happens in Maya. He's a learned scholar. Where is his intelligence? Where is his memory? Gone. Okay, then a husband is the supreme demigod for a woman. The supreme personality of Godhead, Lord Vasudeva, is the husband of goddess of fortune, is situated in everyone's heart and is worshipped through the various names and forms of the demigods by fruitive workers. Similarly, a husband represents the Lord as the object of worship for a woman. My dear wife, whose body is so beautiful, your waist being thin, a conscientious wife should be chaste and should abide by the orders of her husband. She should very devoutly worship her husband as a representative of Vasudeva. My dear gentle wife, you have worshipped me with great devotion, considering me a representative of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. I shall reward you by fulfilling your desires, which are unobtainable for an unchaste wife. Okay, then Diti says. Diti replied, O my husband, O great soul, I have now lost my sons. If you want to give me a benediction, I ask you for an immortal son who can kill Indra. I pray for this because Indra, with the help of Vishnu, has killed my two sons, Hiranyaksha and Hiranyakashipu. So Kashyapa is speaking some big knowledge here. Oh, your husband is a representative of Vasudeva, and Vasudeva is to be worshipped by all the demigods, blah blah blah. And here is she saying, this Vasudeva killed my two sons. Now I want a son who is going to kill this Indra. Okay, he has killed my two sons, Hiranyakashipu, Hiranyaksha. She doesn't even hesitate. It shows that she didn't try to sugarcoat her message. She didn't try anything. The first opportunity, she goes bang at it. She's like, that's it. I got my opportunity. Here's it. Then, upon hearing Diti's request, Kashyapa Muni was very much aggrieved. Alas, he lamented, I now face the danger of the impious act of killing Indra. He wasn't going to kill. But the point is, he's facilitating. So then, Kashyapa Muni thought, alas, I have now become too attached to material enjoyment. Taking advantage of this, my mind has become attracted by the illusory energy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead in the form of woman, my wife. Surely I am surely a wretched person who will glide down toward hell. So the point is, even though he was speaking bona fide Shastra just before he heard what Diti's benediction, what she wanted. What he was speaking was according to Shastra. He wasn't speaking something nonsense. It wasn't like he was watching the football match or something like that. No, he was speaking Shastra. It looked like he was fixed up. But after Diti asks the benediction, he realizes that his mind has become attracted to the illusory energy of the Supreme Lord. This is the point. Now, the point here is that when you are attracted by the illusory energy of the Supreme Lord, it's very difficult to know that you are attracted by the illusory energy of the Supreme Lord. You think the illusory energy of the Supreme Lord makes you think like you are following Supreme Lord, but actually you are bewildered. So, and specifically that happens in the form of a woman. Okay. This woman, my wife, has adopted a means that follows her nature. Therefore, she is not to be blamed. But I am a man. Therefore, all condemnation upon me. I am not at all conversant with what is good for me, since I could not control my senses. This is an important point. This is a very important point to understand. The very important point to understand is it's not that A real yogi, a real person who is trying to achieve self-realization, a true, um, you know, um, self-introspective sage, introspective sage, he does not blame everything and anything. He does not blame the sense objects. He does not blame the way the Supreme Lord has created the universe. He does not even blame illusion. Here, Kashyapa Muni is not cursing Maya. He is cursing himself. All condemnation upon me. Why? Because this woman, my wife, she has feelings. It is her two sons have gotten killed, and this Indra is so puffed up. So now I have to teach this Indra a lesson. I have to get a son to kill him. This is where her emotions will go. She doesn't have the intelligence to check her emotions. She doesn't have that intelligence. I, as a husband, am supposed to have that intelligence, but I got bewildered by her, and I went along with her desires. Therefore, all condemnation upon me. But I am a man. See, the way the translation goes, but I am a man. Now, it doesn't mean that he is in the bodily concept of life. What this means is that he has to understand the responsibilities, the dharma that he has. Without understanding the dharma, without understanding what is conducive for his spiritual life, if a man just goes along and uses all excuses from Shastra or this and that, then he will become bewildered. So it's some really, really good points here. And Prabhupada writes, first line in the purport, the natural instinct of a woman is to enjoy the material world. The natural instinct of a woman is to enjoy the material world. This is a natural instinct. When a man associates with a woman, what instinct will he get? He will get that instinct. This is why, in this purport that we read, Prabhupada is writing here, knowing well that combination with the woman is an unnecessary burden that checks self-realization. So because a woman has so Kashyapa Muni goes further on, right? He goes, this gets really heavy right now. A woman's face is as attractive and beautiful as a blossoming lotus flower during autumn. Her words are very sweet and they give pleasure to the ear. But if we study a woman's heart, we can understand it to be extremely sharp, like the blade of a razor. In these circumstances, who could understand the dealings of a woman? Anyways, there's so many things in the purport, but we'll go to the next verse. To satisfy their own interests, women deal with men as if the men were more dear to them, were most dear to them, but no one is actually dear to them. Women are supposed to be very saintly, but for their own interest, they can kill even their husbands, sons or brothers, or cause them to be killed by others. This is very true in the case of Diti, because who is Indra? Indra is her nephew. Indra is her own nephew. Indra is her own nephew. She is aunt. Aunt means basically like mother. In Vedic culture, aunt, the aunts and uncles, they are also mothers and fathers. And she is trying to kill her own son. In this case, in Vedic culture, you're trying to kill your own son. So in the case of Diti, this was not at all false. Now, here's where it becomes very difficult. Wow, these things are so heavy. It's like, are we trying? No, but this is in the Bhagavatam. It's a literally translation. It's not Prabhupada's purport. It's not, some Acharya's purport. This is right in the Bhagavatam. This is Shastra. And what is Srimad Bhagavatam? Srimad Bhagavatam Puranam Amalam Yad Vaishnavanam Priyam. This Srimad Bhagavatam is Amala Purana. It is the spotless Purana. Spotless Purana like this. And then what more? It said in the beginning of the Bhagavatam, Krishna Sudhama Upagate Dharma Jnana Adibhik Saha Kalam Nashta Dirshamesha Purana Arko Dunoditaha. People who have lost their sense of dharma and knowledge in this dark age of Kali shall gain guidance and light from this Srimad Bhagavatam. This is Srimad Bhagavatam, and this is in the Srimad Bhagavatam. So, and that's another, it is distilled, condensed nectar, the essence of all the Vedic texts. So, having come to Krishna consciousness, this is not the if this was the verse that was presented to us when we first came to the association of devotees, we can feel a little sorry, for that particular person, that it might be very hard. But we have been chanting, Hare Krishna. We have been following, we are worshipping Srila Prabhupada, we are worshipping these texts, we are reading these texts. So therefore, we are distributing them. Therefore, it is pertinent that we learn to understand these texts the way they are, not try to interpret it this way, that way. No, this is actually not meant for everybody else. This is only meant for something. This does not refer to this or that. No. If that were the case, it would be stated. Here, the point is, again, like I mentioned yesterday, this is why I kind of gave a little bit of an introduction. Nobody is woman, nobody is man. These are ultimately conditioned natures that belong to the material world. They stay in the material world. They do not come with us to the spiritual world. But when we're in this material world, we need to understand this. This is stated in the Bhagavatam. Therefore, it has to be accepted as truth. We have to understand how this is true, not is this true. So this is the point. Otherwise, where is the question of faith? So the point is that women, when carried away by emotions, and sometimes emotions are very strong, and when carried away by emotions, they can act like this because their intelligence, even though they may be very intelligent, they are governed by their emotions and they can be dragged. So, let's see, what's the next verse? Okay. I promised to give her a benediction, and this promise cannot be violated, but Indra does not deserve to be killed. In these circumstances, the solution I have is quite suitable. So, we are going to go into this section a little after this. But we may think, okay, this is only Diti. But yes, okay, killing one's son, killing in general is not something that we at least hear of too often. There have been instances of killing in devotee community, but this is very, very rare and very unfortunate. And at least I don't know personally of any example of a woman killing anybody. But here again, it's not Diti who is killing directly. She wants a son who will kill. So, but there are some tragic cases. For instance, you think, how can women be so cruel? Their heart is as sharp as a razor. And there's a particular case that comes to my mind. There's a devotee. His wife was also a devotee. They were good. They both were interested in the same service when they were full-time devotees. They engaged in the same service. In that way, they developed some affection for each other and they got married. And everything did look good. They had children as well. But then, she stops chanting her rounds. She stops chanting. And then what happens? One day, she comes back home, all dressed up really nice, and tells her husband that she was hanging out with other men. This is devotee. This is devotee. It's a devotee. And so she's hanging out with other men, engaging in all kinds of activities. And then husband is obviously shocked. He gets this news when I think he was chanting his rounds at that time. You're chanting your rounds and you get this news, Already it's very painful that your wife is not following, is not chanting, etc., etc. And now you hear this. And then when he approaches her, when he asks, he said, what is this? And she says, well, what about you? And he says, what about you? You're going so many places, you're associating with so many devotees. Who knows what you're doing? Who knows what you're doing? And he says, well, I'm just trying to be a devotee. And she replies, so go be a devotee. It's just an example of how things can go wrong. And it's very heavy. I don't have experience of this person, but just hearing it is so painful. You've lived with someone, you've given your whole life to them, you have children, they were devotees, you married on devotional principles. And then she says, go be a devotee. You could more than just kill the person, than to say something like that. So painful. And there's nothing at that point that you can do to change her mind or make her understand. It's nothing. You just can't do anything. What's worse? She approaches him with papers, asking him to sign some papers. And in those papers are his retirement, about the retirement funds. And she's saying that she wants to move the retirement funds from one account to another account, just move it. He read the document. It says that it's permission to withdraw the retirement funds. There's probably like $10,000-$12,000 in it, right? $12,000 or something like that in the retirement funds, your 401k. And it's husband and wife, so both have to have permission to withdraw. But if you withdraw before you're a senior citizen, then what happens is you have to pay a lot of taxes. So she asked him to sign. And he's like, no, you want to change accounts, but this says you want to withdraw. And she's bugging him for 3 weeks like this. And he says, this doesn't make any sense. Like, what are you asking? And she's like, so then she says, you don't trust me? You don't trust me? And then the doorbell rings. When she says that, the doorbell rings. At the door is an attorney who hands him divorce papers. She says, don't you trust me? And then he gets handed, yes, at the very moment, he gets handed divorce papers. What does that mean? She was going to take all the retirement funds. That he would have got at least half of it in the divorce. They have 2 children. They live together. They did have love for each other. This is what happened. Why is she doing like this? Now, again, she will have her reasons. He will have his reasons, and this whole thing, But it's painful. It's painful. And who's doing that? Who's initiating this kind of pain? She is. Of course, there are men who cheat on their wives. Plenty of them. But in society in general, at least today, what is propagated a lot is about how women are being abused. But there is a lot of abuse that happens within marriage from women towards husbands. Yeah, and there's a statistics in divorce that the divorce is generally initiated more by the women than it is by the man. These are statistics. And even if they have children, they just go all out. And the children are extremely pained, but they don't care. They don't care. So the point here is that these things exist. These things exist. And so Srimad Bhagavatam is speaking these kind of things. Again, this is a general woman's nature. It doesn't mean that every single woman, my mother, I have a mother, she's nice, she never did anything like that, she never divorced, she never cheated on her husband. Okay, we're not, by stating this, we're stating the general characteristic of a woman, that what happens when their emotions take control of their intelligence and how far that emotions can go, and what are the general statistics in this world, and what the Srimad Bhagavatam says. Again, we have to understand things in light of the Srimad Bhagavatam, not that we modify Srimad Bhagavatam according to statistics that we see. So this is the point, right? So therefore, human life, it's very rare. This human form of life is very rare. And one who is intelligent, he will understand that why get into this in the first place? Why do I want to get into this in the first place? Why do I want to? So and again, this is not just, right? Who is stating this way? So that's why we sang this song, Yavane Jakana. In that, we sang, Prabhu He Suno Mor Dukera Kahini. So in that, if you see, the first verse says, Hear, O Lord, my story of sadness. I drank this deadly poison of worldliness, pretending it was nectar. Now the sun is setting on the horizon of my life. So this is the point. Pretending that it is nectar. Pretending it is nectar. Because if you actually think about it, there is no nectar. Where is the nectar? It is suffering. You are supposed, this here, okay, what does Bhagavad Gita say? Bhagavad Gita says, Yehi samsparshaja bhoga, dukkhayon evate, adyantavanta kaunteya, nateshu ramate buddhaya. That Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Yehi samsparshaja bhoga, the contact of the sense with the sense objects is samparshaja. Samparshaja bhoga, samparsha refers to contact, ja refers to born, bhoga, the enjoyment, so-called enjoyment, that is born out of this, yehi samsparshaja bhoga, dukkha yoneva evate. This is nothing but misery. Dukkha yoneva evate. Krishna says this in Bhagavad Gita. What are you going to do with it? Become depressed? Okay, become depressed. The point is that this is Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita. We have to take it. And then he says, adyantavanta kaunteya. So kaunteya, adyantavanta kaunteya, nateshu ramate buddhaya. That one who is intelligent does not take pleasure in this. He does not find pleasure in this. He does not. Ramate. Not ramate. Not, there is no bliss. Oh, hey, you know, that brahmachari is hitting on that brahmacharini, and that girl looks like a suitable match here, and you know this, that, and this gossip. Nateshu ramate buddhaya. You are mad, you are crazy, you are a fool. If you engage in this kind of kutinati gossip. Oh, something big is in store if you continue like this kind of nonsense. When you are supposed to be a devotee and we are supposed to have taste for name, form, quality, pastimes, abode of Supreme Personality of Godhead. But what do we have taste? Yehi samsparshaja bhoga. And because we are not capable of enjoying about, we want to talk about others enjoying. Because it gives us the feeling, well, I'm aloof, but let me talk all about how they are all fallen. You are also enjoying. This is subtle, manasija. And you think, I'm detached, I'm separate. You know what happened? You know that grahastha, you know this, his wife slapped him, this, that, and you take so much pleasure in this nonsense. This is not devotee. And definitely not brahmachari. Maya has her way of, see, what is Maya? Maya is here to correct us. She is here to reform us, and she will. Don't have faith? You can wait and watch. Or you can consider, you can go and look at yourself in a mirror and see, oh, this is the punishment right in front of my face. Look, this punishment, what I've got. So let me not be stupid again. So then, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he says, I spent my childhood in play, my youth in academic pursuit. In me there was no sense of right or wrong. In young manhood I set up a household, settled down to the spell of material enjoyment. Children and friends quickly multiplied. Okay, if you go to Sharanagati, song number 3, Yavane Jakana, Dhana Uparjana, Hoinu Vipula Kami, Dharma Samariya, Grinirakara Dhorinu Takano Ami. So then he says, when I was young, I greatly desired to earn money. At that time, bearing in mind the codes of religion, I took a wife. So he took a wife, bearing in mind the codes of religion. So he wanted to have money. But he was pious, he was religious, he was devotee, he's nice-hearted, good devotee. And so he wanted to have some money because he desired some money. So considering religious principles, he accepted a wife. Next verse, what does he say? Right? Next verse he says that samsarera bhara bhade dine achala hoilo gati bhardakya asiya gherilo amare astira hoilo mati. Together we set up a household, wasted much time, had many sons and daughters, my heart grew heavy. Bhaktivinoda Thakur is saying that he wasted time. Bhaktivinoda Thakur is calling this a waste of time. I'm not calling it. a waste of time. Bhaktivinoda Thakur, who is a grihastha, acharya, he calls it a waste of time. Of course, we know Bhaktivinoda Thakur was never in illusion. He was never in Maya. He never forgot Krishna. But to teach us, they speak like this. You know? He speaks like this. And in the end, he says in text number 5, Samsara tatani shrota nahe shesha marana nikate ghora sabha samapiya bhojibo tomaya e ashe bhipalamor. The current of this worldly river is strong and relentless. A frightening, gloomy death approaches. How I wish I could give up my worldly attachments. I would worship you, O Lord, but it is a useless hope. Because he is reflecting, he is saying, already I was attached. I increased my attachments more. Now I am so stuck in these attachments. How am I going to worship you, O Supreme Lord? From this you can understand, he is speaking on the platform of a devotee who understands that he needs to worship the Supreme Lord, but feels helpless. Now, those who are not yet married, they are taught these things. It is not that somebody, I shouldn't hear all these things. This is acharyas are stating. They didn't say this is, listen, okay, this is only for those Naistic brahmacharis and sannyasis. Other devotees, we have more sweet things for you to hear. No, this is knowledge. This is Shastra. This is Yai Samsparsha is there in Bhagavad Gita. What are you going to do? This is because this is how it is. It is because we are infected with this conception that there is somehow some way in which we can enjoy this material world and still be Krishna conscious. We are infected with this idea. We become depressed upon hearing these kind of things. And then, okay, as people who speak these kind of, they're a fanatic, oh no, he's very heavy class Prabhu. You know. So okay. Now, in Bhagavad Gita, text, chapter 14, text 18, right? Who knows the verse? 14 or 18, famous. No. Urdhvam gachanti sattvastha, madhye tishtanti rajasaha, jaganya guna vrittistha, adho gachanti tamasaha. Right? So Krishna says here that those situated in the mode of goodness gradually go upward to the higher planets. Those in the mode of passion live on the earthly planets, and those in the abominable mode of ignorance go to the hellish worlds. So we have three modes of material nature. One who's predominated by the mode of goodness goes up. Up means where? Heavenly planets. Okay? Who are there in the heavenly planets? Demigods are there in the heavenly planets. Okay. Then if you're passionate, rajasic, then you stay on this platform in the earthly realm, and then Adho gachanti tamasaha. Tamasaha means you become animal or whatever, different lower species of life covered by ignorance. Okay. Now, therefore, you may wonder, why is it that these demigods are becoming envious of rigid brahmacharis? See, to stay brahmachari, you can see here that one has to employ one's intelligence. The intelligence has to be more than this feeling factor. I feel. No, a Naistik, a brahmachari is one who's very, very connected to that platform of intelligence. Because this platform of intelligence allows us to, not allows, but it is conducive when under the proper guidance of a spiritual master, it is conducive to surrender to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Bahunam janmanam ante jnanavan mam prapadyate. Vasudeva sarvamiti samhatma sudurlabaha. Sudurlabaha, very rare. But who is closer to that rareness? Jnani is closer to that rareness. Not the other ones. Who are the other ones? Chaturvida bhajante mam. Jana sukriti no Arjuna. Artho jignasu arthati. The arthati is not close. Jignasu also is not close. One who is curious and inquisitive, he also is not close. Jnani is close because his intelligence is high. Why is he close? Because through his intelligence, he is already more or less disassociating himself from material nature. And any form of yoga, any process of yoga, celibacy is there. It's there in some way, shape or form. Only in Bhakti Yoga, actually you have marriage, and there is a regulated form of getting oneself liberated. But in the other forms of yoga, it starts with brahmacharya. Ashtanga yoga starts with brahmacharya. Jnana yoga starts with brahmacharya. You're not brahmachari. What the hell? You're not even showing any sense of sense control. Where is your knowledge? Where is your knowledge? It's not realized. So, one whose intelligence is high, he is automatically disassociating himself. For that intelligence to function, you have to be in the mode of goodness. Otherwise, the intelligence doesn't work. Because mode of passion, emotions are raging, mind is raging. Ignorance, nothing exists. Everything is dead. In ignorance, so in the mode of goodness, the knowledge is enlightening. It is liberating in the mode of goodness. In the mode of passion, there is intelligence, but that intelligence causes bondage. That intelligence causes further bondage. It is used to go after fruitive results. In the mode of ignorance, the intelligence is non-existent. It basically is destruction. It is as if it doesn't exist. And therefore, now, women, again, this is also stated in Shastra, women are said to be more lusty than men. How many times? 9 times more lusty than men. What does that mean? It means 9 times more passionate. That passion is there. And that passion quickly transforms, as Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita. What does he say? He says, how does that transform? Kama yesha, krodha yesha, rajoguna samodbhava, mahashanam bahapapma, vidyena miha vairinam. So this rajogun, what does it do? Kama yesha, krodha yesha. In that mode of passion, what do you get? You get generated 2 things. 2 things are generated. Great desire, excessive desire, and anger. Kama yesha, krodha yesha, wrath. Anger is generated because those excessive desires cannot be fulfilled. How can excessive desires be fulfilled in this world? It is not possible, because those desires are fulfilled only if one has the karma to be able to enjoy them. But one who is in excessive desire, he is not willing to accept his karma. He is not willing to accept his state of condition. He is not willing to be satisfied. So therefore, he becomes angry. Then what happens? Kamesh, Rajoguna, Mahashanam Mahapa, Vidyena Maya Vairinam. It is literally the enemy of the living entity. So, Nitya Vairina, that's another verse. What is that? That's also a nice verse. Nitya Vairinam. Anyways, I forget. Okay, anyways. So these are the enemies of so Kama Yesha, Krodha Yesha. So when women are more passionate, what happens is when excessive desire is transformed into anger, it slips into the mode of ignorance, because it becomes destructive. It doesn't become fruitive, it just becomes destructive, and it just burns everything in its path, burns the own person, burns everything else. It's like when a tree, catches fire, it burns itself, but it not just burns itself, burns the whole forest down. So, yeah, it's a destroyer of self-realization. So, because it destroys the ability of the living entity to think for his own welfare. So, now what the demigods, they are afraid of those who are in the mode of goodness. Primarily the yogis. Why? Because these yogis, being situated in the mode of goodness, that they are trying to become pure of all material desires. But what are the chances? Chances are high that their material desires will still remain, and it takes a couple of lifetimes. Who gets affected in the meantime? Demigod gets affected. Demigods get affected. So they become envious. They become envious, and what they do, say, listen, let's push this fellow into the mode of passion and ignorance. He won't come here. Then we can stay here longer. You may think, oh, they are demigods, they are worshipable. Yes, but they are also conditioned living entities. Shastra is full of this. And to reach the higher posts of demigods is you have to become more elevated. And the lower posts of the demigods are more accessible because you require less less credit to go up there. And as devotees, Srila Prabhupada said this. Prabhupada said that most of his disciples will end up in the heavenly planets. Why? Why? because they still have material desire. But you are a devotee of Supreme Personality of Godhead, and by being devotee, you are living more or less sinless life. So by leading a more or less sinless life, but you're still attached to wife, to household and all this, to money and this and that, okay, you will get born as a demigod. So therefore, demigods become envious. And therefore, going back to this, thing that we were reading, of Diti and Kashyapa, Canto 6, Chapter 18, Text 44. This is a long class. I can't help it. So, still some way to go. I don't want to turn it into a third session. So, okay. You pulled it up? Okay. Text 44. Okay. Kashyapa Muni, thinking in this way, became somewhat angry. Condemning himself for Maharaj Parikshit, descendant of Kuru, he spoke to Diti as follows. So I'm just going to read the, the translations. If you want, you can go to that. You can go to the index. Yeah, because it will be faster to read that way. Okay, text 45. Kashyapa Muni said, "My dear gentle wife, if you follow my instructions regarding this vow for at least 1 year, you will surely get a son who will be able to kill Indra. However, if you deviate from this vow of following the Vaishnava principles, you will get a son who will be favorable to Indra." So now, Kashyapa Muni, being an intelligent husband, being a dutiful husband, he's thinking, how can I rectify my wife? He's not thinking, how am I going to punish her? And he thinks he has to do this in a way because Diti is a woman. He cannot just talk to, he doesn't try, Kashyapa does not try to convince Diti against her will. Because he's intelligent enough to understand. She's governed by her emotions. Right now, if I try to convince against her will, her wrath will be upon me. And that's there in the Bible. You know, hell hath no fury, like a woman scorned. Hell hath no fury like a woman scorned. Why is it in the Bible? It's in the Bhagavatam, it's in the Bible. So we have to consider these things. So Kashyapa doesn't do that. He's intelligent. Why? He's been trained. He's been trained. He is a grihastha brahmachari. He is a grihastha. Yes, he's had his fall down. But this is why the Bhagavatam gives these examples. Because it's not just us who are in a spot with our family members. But other people have also been a spot. And Kashyapa has been in a spot with Diti. One time already ho gaya. One time, something already happened and he gave birth to 2 big demons. Now, biggest demons that the universe has ever seen. Now, he's learned his lesson. So, Kashyapa is showing the pastime of being second-class intelligent devotee. Second-class intelligent, one time I've suffered. Now I've learned my lesson. So, Kashyapa is showing that. And what is he doing? He's saying, he's giving... So then Diti replies, "My dear Brahmana, I must accept your advice and follow the vow. Now let me understand what I have to do, what is forbidden, and what will not break the vow. Please clearly state all this to me." Kashyapa Muni says, "My dear wife, to follow this vow, do not be violent, do not cause harm to anyone, do not curse anyone, do not speak lies, do not cut your nails or hair, do not touch impure things like skulls or bones." So he's making her follow, and in some ways, because not being violent, don't curse anyone, she's also preventing her from having all these, angry feelings. He's like, yeah, you want this desire to be fulfilled, you have to behave saintly, So then anyways, there are some, some restrictions here. And then we'll go to text, okay, go to text 54. Kashyapa Muni continued, If you perform this ceremony called Pumsavana, adhering to the vow with faith for at least 1 year, you will give birth to a son destined to kill Indra. But if there is any discrepancy in the discharge of this vow, the son will be a friend to Indra. Okay, text 55. O King Parikshit, Diti, the wife of Kashyapa, agreed to undergo the purificatory process known as Pumsavana. "Yes," she said, "I shall do everything according to your instructions." With great jubilation, she became pregnant, having taken semen from Kashyapa, and faithfully began discharging the vow. "O King, you, who are respectful to everyone, Indra understood Diti's purpose, and thus he contrived to fulfill his own interest. Following the logic that self-preservation is the first law of nature, he wanted to break Diti's promise. Thus he engaged himself in the service of Diti, his aunt, who was residing in an ashram. Indra served his aunt daily by bringing flowers, fruits, roots, and woods for yajnas from the forest. He also brought kusha grass, leaves, sprouts, earth, and water exactly at the proper time. Note that Indra is doing similar things to what Diti did to Kashyapa, to bewilder her. Right? It does the same thing. So the same principle is being followed. But why then is Diti's example being used for explaining some certain things about women, and why is not Indra's example being used? Because the point is, the male form of life is meant for self-realization, and Indra being associated with women and everything associated with women is acting exactly like a conditioned woman. So, here, O King Parikshit, as the hunter of a deer becomes like a deer, covering his body with deer skin and serving the deer. So Indra, although at heart the enemy of the son of Diti, became outwardly friendly and served Diti in a faithful way. Indra's purpose was to cheat Diti as soon as he could find some fault in the way that she discharged the vows of the ritualistic ceremony. However, he wanted to be undetected, therefore he served her very carefully. O master of the entire world, when Indra could find no faults, he thought, how will there be good fortune for me? Thus he was full of deep anxiety. He didn't take shelter of Supreme Personality of Godhead. He is devotee, but he didn't take shelter of Supreme Personality of Godhead. Note, these are so many instructions we can learn from these kind of examples. Why? Because he's bewildered. He's aham mameti bhav. I am this body and everything belonging to this body is mine. And he's relying on his own personal strength. He doesn't take shelter of Supreme Personality of Godhead when he's suffering. Instead, he takes shelter of his own stupid ideas, his own stupid logic. Then, having grown weak and thin because of strictly following the principles of the vow, Diti once unfortunately neglected to wash her mouth, hand and feet after eating and went to sleep during the evening twilight. Finding this fault, Indra, who has all mystic powers, the yoga siddhis such as Anima and Lagima, entered Diti's womb while she was unconscious, being fast asleep. After entering Diti's womb, Indra, with the help of his thunderbolt, cut into 7 pieces an embryo, which appeared like glowing gold. In 7 places, 7 different living beings began crying. Indra told them, do not cry, and then he cut each of them into 7 pieces again. So they are crying, and Indra's mercy is like Kamsa. He's just killing. He's just killing. Something is crying and suffering, but Indra is killing. He's devotee. Please note, I'm kind of underlining that point here, just to see what happens when you don't apply intelligence. O king, being very much aggrieved, they plead to Indra with folded hands, dear Indra, we are the Maruts, your brothers, why are you trying to kill us? When Indra saw that they were actually his devoted followers, he said, if you are all my brothers, you have nothing more to fear from me. So the Maruts had to relate to Indra on the bodily platform for Indra to give up his animosity, because Indra is also in the bodily concept of life. Then, anyways, here Shukadev Goswami, glorifies Parikshit Maharaj. He says that Krishna, you were saved by Lord Krishna when you were in the womb. Similarly, Supreme Personality of Godhead also saved the embryo, even though it was cut into 49 pieces. And so then, what happens is, so go to text 68, and this is the last verse I'll be reading. Because of worshipping the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Diti was completely purified. When she got up from bed, she saw her 49 sons along with Indra. These 49 sons were all as brilliant as fire, and they were in friendship with Indra, and therefore she was very pleased. And in there, she said, and then, text 76, sorry, this is the other one. No, not text 76. Oh no, that's it. That's the verse. So here we see that Diti's desire to kill Indra was purified. She is pleased to see that her 49 sons are friends of Indra because she worshipped the Supreme Personality of Godhead devoutedly. And by worshipping the Supreme Personality of Godhead, her heart changed. Means what? She overcome her womanly nature. She was no longer infected by that because she became a devotee of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And this is the whole Bhagavatam. The Bhagavatam's whole purpose is to point out conditioning and tell us how we can come out of that conditioning. This is the whole purpose of the Srimad Bhagavatam. And the reason is, we should not be born again as a Vishayi. We should not be born again as a sense enjoyer. And we have that tendency. We have the tendency, even though we may be devotees, we have the tendency to fall down and become big sense enjoyers. There is a story of Yamunacharya. Yamunacharya, he was a disciple of Bhashyakara, and and he was the grandson, I believe. Yeah, the grandson of Nada Muni. So Nada Muni is the one who revealed the Divya Prabandhas, the 4,000 Divya Prabandhas, which is 400,000. Yeah. 400,000 Divya Prabandhas. So he reveals, I don't know if it's 40,000 or 400,000, whatever. So he revealed these Divya Prabandhas. This is pure devotee, eternal associate of the Supreme Lord. And Yamunacharya is his grandson. So he's born in the line of devotees. And his guru is Bhashyakara, who is also a great devotee. And it so happens that there is a king, the king of the Pandya, the Pandya Raja. And so there happens to be this very puffed up scholar who is challenging everyone. And Yamunacharya, there's a long story, I'm really cutting the story short. Yamunacharya was chosen. His guru was actually scared, but he got chosen to go and debate this scholar. And Bhashyakara feared for the life of Yamunacharya. But Yamunacharya managed to defeat this great scholar, and the Pandya king, being so pleased with Yamunacharya, gave him half his kingdom. So Yamunacharya, from being a Brahmana, obtained half the kingdom at the young age of 12. Just at 12 years old. But then what happens? He becomes a big sense enjoyer. He exhibits that pastime of being this big sense enjoyer. He enjoys life. And therefore, this verse that Yamunacharya, that Prabhupada likes to quote in Stotra Ratna, what is that? Yeah, lips curled in distaste. I forgot. Yedi mama cheta, what is that? Yadavadi mama chetasa Krishna padara vinde navanava. Do you know the whole verse? Udvantum rantum asit bhavati vikara mukha. Yeah. What is that? What was the last one? Okay. Anyways, he says that whenever I think of enjoying with women, my lips curl in distaste and I spit at the thought. One would think, where is he thinking of enjoying with women? But the thing is, he's thinking of his past and, the way he enjoyed. And he thinks about it and his lips curl in distaste. Why is this example being cited? Why are devotees put through these kind of things? Because they're showing us the possibility. Yamunacharya didn't commit any offense and he didn't fall down because of that offense. But just by associating with great material opulence, and therefore, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, when Prataparudra Maharaj, he just brushes Chaitanya, he just touches Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu exhibits great dissatisfaction. Oh, I have been touched by this Vishayi, and then what is that verse he quotes in the Bhagavatam? Hanta hanta vishabhakshana topya sadhu. So, anyways, we don't have Krishna Keshav Prabhu in this class, as you would have quoted all these verses, and I didn't pull this up. So, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu quotes that, and of course, Acharyas explain that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he is Supreme Personality of Godhead. Nobody can touch him if it's just like that. He allowed Prataparudra Maharaj. So, although he was very pleased with, and he allowed Prataparudra Maharaj to touch him, why? Because Prataparudra Maharaj is exhibiting the humility of sweeping the street. Although he is the emperor, he is the king, he's sweeping the street in front of Jagannath, and Lord Chaitanya was very pleased. So he allowed Prataparudra Maharaj to touch him, but just to teach a lesson of how dangerous it is to associate with women or men who are attached to women. This is the verse. Hanta hanta vishabhakshana topya sadhu is worse than drinking poison. It is worse than drinking poison. So, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, therefore, he speaks this verse. And so, okay, next verse, 11, 28, 29. Pull it up, 28, 29. Okay, this is Krishna Lord Krishna, Supreme Personality of Godhead, stating to Uddhava Gita. Sometimes the progress of imperfect transcendentalists, the word here that's used is kuyoginaha. Imperfect transcendentalist is checked by attachment to family members, disciples, or others who are sent by envious demigods for that purpose. But on the strength of their accumulated advancement, such imperfect transcendentalists will resume their practice of yoga when in the next life. They will never again be trapped in the network of fruitive work. So here it's not just family members. You have disciples being sent, and others, other meaning everybody, others meaning everything else, right? You're sent by envious demigods. The progress of imperfect transcendentalists are checked by attachment. How does this attachment come about? Because the devotee was not careful enough to develop his attachment to Krishna. While practicing Krishna consciousness, he has not been alert enough to avoid the weeds. In our specific case, right? I mean, here's a quote. You see, we are born in Kali Yuga. What is Kali Yuga? Kali Yuga is full of mode of passion and ignorance. So we are also born of that mode of passion and ignorance. Prabhupada states here in this in the Science of Self-Realization. This is in Lord Kapila's teachings of Lord Kapila. I believe it's from a lecture, probably. Prabhupada says, in this Kali Yuga, the present age, the dangerous modes of Rajogun and Tamogun, passion and ignorance, are especially prominent. Practically everyone in this age is contaminated by lusty desire, greed and ignorance. It is said in the Shastras that in this age of Kali, Sattva Gun, the mode of goodness, is practically non-existent. It is practically non-existent. When we come into devotional service, there is a little hope. Because why? Why? Because it's stated in the Srimad Bhagavatam. Tada rajas tamo bhava kama lobhadayaschaye chete eta ranavidham sitam sattve prasidati. By regular hearing of the Bhagavatam, what happens? Tada rajas tamo bhava. This rajas and tamo, this mode of passion and ignorance goes down. What happens? Kama lobhadayaschaye, including kama, desire, lobha, excessive greed. Kama lobha dayaschaye refers to all the six, kama, krodha, lobha, moha, mada, matsarya. All of these six are reduced by hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, and the progress is made by coming to the platform of Sattva Gun and then going to the platform of Shuddha Sattva. Now when we are in that process, demigods get triggered. They get triggered and they send these people to push you back. You are Kali Yuga person, you are going to come to demigod planets? Kali Yuga, you fellow who probably just came yesterday from some animal species, you are going to come and occupy our position? Here's a nice disciple who is going to glorify the hell out of you. And you fall down. Or it could be some devotee who's glorifying our Sankirtan scores. Or it could be some devotee who is so nicely evoking all these feelings of ignorance in our heart, so that we can speak all sorts of nonsense. Every single nonsense that can emanate from our mouth, everything comes out in association with this wonderful devotee. And then we blame, oh, my past was like that, my past is like this, my history is like this. The history is already summarized here. History is this. In this Kali Yuga, the dangerous modes of passion and modes of Rajogun and Tamogun, passion and ignorance are especially prominent. Practically everyone in this age is contaminated by lusty desire, greed and ignorance. You have anything more to say about this than your past? Anything more about your past to say than this? No. So if we want to keep meditating on how we are such victims of our past and we are so fully of lust, greed and anger, then we're never going to come out of it. We're falling right into that trap. Right into the trap of what? No, we'll still be devotees. But you'll take another birth. We'll have to take another birth. So this is the important point. And therefore, Rupa Goswami says, he says in Nectar of Instruction, text 5, pull that up. Nectar of Instruction, text 5. Anybody remembers the verse? Krishneti yasya giritam manasadhriyeta dikshati chet pranatibhischa bhajantamisham Shushrushraya bhajana vignamanannamanya nindadi shunya hridam ipsita sangalabdhya. What does that mean? One should mentally honor the devotee who chants the holy name of Lord Krishna. One should offer humble obeisances to the devotee who has undergone spiritual initiation, diksha, and is engaged in worshipping the deity. One should associate and faithfully serve that pure devotee who is advanced in undeviated devotional service. And note that last line, whose heart is completely devoid of the propensity to criticize others. This is how Rupa Goswami advises us to engage in devotional service. He advises us to engage in devotional service to take association of that pure devotee. Nindadi shunya hridam ipsita sangalabdhya. You take that advantage of that devotee's association who's freed, whose heart is free from this attribute of criticizing others. Criticizing. Why? Because in that critical mentality, you commit Vaishnava aparad. By what happens when you commit Vaishnava aparad? You engage in what is that? Atyahara prayasascha prajalpo niyamagraha janasangascha laulyamcha shadbhir bhaktir vinashyati. These 6 weeds start to grow. Because you and the devotee in the name of devotional service, what you are doing? Atyahara. Eating too much, sleeping too much, talking too much. Atyahara prayasascha, engaging in over endeavor. Prajalpo niyamagraha, you criticize, you either don't follow the rules and regulations, or you overly follow them and criticize everybody who's not up to your particular standard, imaginary standard. Niyamagraha, prajalpa, then you engage in tons of prajalpa. All types of prajalpa, all nonsense you talk. Janasanga, and then you get association and you gather some more materialistic devotees like this, or you straight up just associate with materialists, it's not too far. Laulyam, then greed develops. Greed for this, greed for that. Shadbir bhaktir vinashyati. And your devotional service is finished because you're a creeper. You haven't cultivated enough. We still struggle to chant our rounds. We don't have taste. Rupa Goswami states that, what's that verse now again? Syat Krishna Nama Charitadi Sitapya Vidya Pittopatapta Rasanasya Narochikano Kintva Daradhanudinam Khalu Saiva Jushta Swadvi Kramad Bhavati Tad Gada Mula Hantri. That this material disease of lust, greed, all this, how is it destroyed? It is destroyed. Syat Krishna Nama Charitadi. We have to develop taste for hearing Krishna's name, Krishna's pastimes. We have to develop taste for sitting in the Bhagavatam class. We have to develop taste for hearing Krishna's holy name. We have to develop taste in these things. Ultimately, the purpose of Krishna consciousness is smartavya satatam vishnor vismatavyena jatuchit. Sarvavidhi nishedhasyur eteyoreva kinkaraha. We have to always remember Krishna, never forget Krishna. But you know what? In the name of devotional service, we are forgetting Krishna. And we don't have any taste for remembering Krishna. When we don't have any taste for remembering Krishna, all these other weeds are growing and we are thinking it is devotional service. And after some time, those weeds choke the creeper of devotional service, and in this lifetime, fellow is gone off in some track. He's gone off. Has no clue. Has no clue. So this is what happens. And the next verse also, well, I think the next verse is what I just chanted. I'm not good again with numbers, but, oh yeah, sorry. Drishtai swabhava janitair vapushascha joshair na prakritatvam iha bhakta janasya paschet gangam basam nakalu budbudapena pankair brahmadhravatvam apagacchati neera dharmaihi. Being situated in his original Krishna conscious position, a pure devotee does not identify with the body. Such a devotee should not be seen from a materialistic point of view. Indeed, one should overlook a devotee's body having been born in a low family, body with bad complexion, deformed body, or a diseased or infirm body. According to ordinary vision, such imperfections may seem prominent in the body of a pure devotee, but despite such seeming defects, the body of a pure devotee cannot be polluted. It is exactly like the waters of the Ganges, which sometimes during the rainy season are full of bubbles, foam, and mud. The Ganges water do not become polluted. Those who are advanced in spiritual understanding will bathe in the Ganges without considering the condition of the water. So, although this does refer to pure devotees, it doesn't mean that everybody else is subject to our criticism and judgment. The point is, those who are pure devotees also refer to those who are on the path of pure devotional service. If somebody is sincerely engaging in Krishna consciousness, he is dedicated to surrender to one spiritual master, whether that be male or female. They do not deserve your judgment or criticism. If you are in a position to care for them, if you are in a position to help them, if you are in a position where you are supposed to instruct them, then there may be room, but that is not criticism, that is helping. But instead, you rascal make everybody else your object of judgment. Maya will make you her object of judgment. And she's already done that so many times, she will do it again. And Krishna will make us learn our lesson whether we want to learn it or not. The question is, how do you want to learn it? There is no escaping this. There is no escaping this. One who has come to devotional service, it is impossible for them to run away from devotional service unless they become extremely envious to the Vaishnavas, at which their suffering is something that even Shastras cannot describe. Even the scriptures struggle to explain the suffering that one who criticizes Vaishnavas will go through. So we should be very careful. This, and Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Sakale Neha Mahata, right? That this process of yoga, by the course of the passage of time, it is forgotten. Therefore, Krishna had to speak it again to Arjuna. But it's interesting. It happens in our life also. If we don't regularly hear and chant, if we don't pull ourselves up, I have to read, I have to chant, I'm falling asleep in the Bhagavatam class, but I got to do something about it. I have to change something in my life. But if we just let it go on, we will forget. We will forget. Yoga will be forgotten. The process of yoga will be forgotten. We will forget all the instructions that we have learned. We'll become kuyogis. And then we'll take another birth. Same thing with japa. Same thing with the whole practice of devotional service. Everything that is given to us, we have to pull ourselves up. And if we don't and that's why we have to be in the association of devotees, because they remind us, we have a tendency to forget. We forget. How did Diti give such a benediction how did Kashyapa give such a benediction to Diti? Because he forgot. He forgot. And this is our nature, we forget. And Krishna reminds us. How does Krishna remind us? Krishna says, what is that? Remembrance and forgetfulness comes from me. Sarvasya chadaram hridhi sannivishto matta smritir jnanam apohanam cha. Vedesya sarvair ahameva vedya vedantakrit vedavidevacham. So remembrance and forgetfulness comes from Krishna. But it does not have to come. It is not that Krishna has to come with his flute and tap us on the head and remind us something. It might not happen in that way. It might happen in different ways. Devotees are giving, as long as the instruction is according to Shastra. We have already heard it, right? So when somebody gives that instruction, you should click. Oh, it's coming from Shastra, it's coming from Krishna. It's according to Shastra, it is coming from Krishna. Whether that is junior devotee or senior devotee. In this way, we will be able to remember and we will be able to transcend. We will be able to do this. And so we need to consciously develop taste for serving Guru and Krishna. And in this regard, I wanted to glorify a Vaishnava that I met recently, Mother Nidra. She has been serving Srila Prabhupada and the deities of Radha Govinda Gaurnitai and Jagannath Baladev Subhadra in Denver practically her whole life. She married. Her husband was some irresponsible fellow. He ran away. What did she do? She didn't get herself married again. She said, okay, Vedic process, I've lost my husband, now I'm a widow. There are so many widows in Vrindavan even today, but they become prostitutes. So several of them become prostitutes, not all of them. But so she puts on white and completely dedicates herself to serving Radha Govinda and Srila Prabhupada. It takes a lot for a woman to do that. How did she do it? She became a devotee. She is so powerful that she can bless sannyasis to be sannyasis. That is the level of renunciation she has. Although she doesn't carry a danda, she doesn't have disciples, she doesn't have all these bells and whistles, but she is in a league of her own. By looking at her, you can say, it's just so amazing. I was just thinking, here is this person standing in front of me, she's going back home, back to Godhead. It's like this, like everything that of our qualities and characteristics speak of that. If a brahmachari is mundane enough to not be able to recognize that he has to associate with such a woman and take her blessings, associate means, again, even that woman, she wouldn't like associate meaning, okay, let's sleep in the same room. No, not that kind of association. Meaning association according to the way our predecessor acharyas have taught us. Meaning we take blessings. We take blessings. We seek their blessings. Not that we think, oh, there's a woman, my God, she's an embodiment of Maya, I have to run away in the other direction. No, that nonsense, fellow. You didn't understand anything of devotional service. That's not the way. So this science of devotional service is not, it's not executed on the bodily platform. It's executed on the platform of Krishna consciousness. It is executed on the platform of understanding who is a servant of Krishna and where they are in their Krishna consciousness. And there is the science to understand this. So, that is a very extraordinary example. Women in general, not in general, this is a recommended process. Prabhupada said, he said, I forget exactly how the verse comes, but Prabhupada says that, manager, he has to make sure all the women are married and the men and men are all brahmacharis. And then the devotees ask, Prabhupada, how is this possible? Prabhupada said, that's your management. Meaning, all the men are supposed to be responsible, even if they may enter into the Grihastha ashram. They need to understand all these heavy facts. It's not some joke. It's not some thing that you can enter. In Marathi marriages, there's a very at the time of the muhurta in Maharashtra, they all the family members, they all chant this. The priests also chant this. Subha muhurte savadhana, subha muhurte savadhana. The auspicious muhurta is arriving. Savadhan. Be careful, be sober. Why are you being careful? Because it's not something to go and party yourself into. Because you understand that you are entering a period of entanglement. But okay, you're unable to go through the process of renunciation, and everybody is not going to be able to. Those women who may feel like, oh, I'm very anxious now after hearing this class, all the brahmacharis. The thing is, here's the thing. One, living entities forget. Because in spite of hearing all this, we won't follow. We don't follow. What to do? If we follow, the process of devotional service is extremely powerful. But we think that devotional service cannot, apply to us. Or somehow or the other we feel there's some lacking. So, history says most men get married. This is history. But the point is, at least if they get married with this understanding, then they can come out of it. Those who are a little smarter enough, if you can somehow develop taste for Krishna consciousness, if you can somehow develop taste for serving Guru and Krishna, why get through this income? Why go through this? Why go through this? But that has to be accompanied specifically with a very clear sign of not wanting to indulge in sense gratification, to live simply, aversion to sense gratification, wanting to live simply, being humble and very, very dedicated to the mission of one's spiritual master. One has to understand that one is going to no one can run away from accepting responsibilities. But if you accept responsibilities on behalf of the spiritual master and accept that burden, then you can avoid the other burden, which everybody else is destined. Even we are destined to take this. But what Krishna does, okay, your horoscope says you're going to have all this burden. But if you are very dedicated to following Krishna, Krishna gives that burden in another way. In the form of devotional service, in the form of service, in the form of orders of Guru and Krishna. But if not, accept the burden of spiritual life, of householder life, and remain spiritual. Follow properly. Set a proper example. And at the age of 50, give it up. 50 or when the children are grown up. This is, we have to see. And same thing, women also. I mean, that's why I'm so inspired by Mother Nidra's example. I mean, she did marry, she followed. She followed Prabhupada. Prabhupada wanted to see that all his women were married. She married. But after that, she didn't get back into it. I'm not saying that others are fallen or something, but that is a shining example of somebody who could have achieved that only by being Krishna conscious. There's no other way of doing that, any other way of doing that. Because who knows what karma is in store for us? Who knows? Who knows? You check your horoscope, you check this, you check that, everything you check, but you never know what's. Trust no future, however pleasant it may seem. So we have to proceed with our duties, we have to proceed with our nature. Sometimes the particular spiritual master himself may recommend, this particular devotee, you see, better you get married. He may say that, seeing the particular quality of a particular disciple. But these principles do not change. Therefore, the devotee should understand these principles and eventually try to disentangle oneself from family encumbrances. Not have attachment to money, and all this kind of things. So, let me just see if there's anything else here. Yeah, let us not be, there's an old man, I know, he's very attached. He's a devotee. His wife passed away. Wife sounded like a pure devotee who is very attached to worshipping Krishna. He passed away, he's still attached to. He's 70 plus years old. He has so much money. He has a house that's paid off. His son earns a lot of money and isn't married and doesn't want to get married. And his daughter is a doctor and her husband is also a doctor. Every material opulence that one can imagine is there, but he is not able to be Krishna conscious. He is simply suffering thinking of his dead wife. Wife is gone and he is not able to put his mind to Krishna. That state we should not achieve. And he met Prabhupada. He's not a disciple of Prabhupada, but he did see Prabhupada. So we should not end up in that kind of situation. Because if you end up in that kind of, you know what's happening next life. You have to be born again. By always thinking of a woman, you may be born as a woman. So that state we should not achieve. That is what we have to avoid. And finally, I'll just 11:4:12 to 17. This is the pastime of Naranarayana Rishi. And I just wanted to read the translations because this verse is on Naranarayana Rishi. Actually, 11:12. 11, 12, 6, and then we'll go to 12. 11:4:12, sorry. 11:4:6, and then we'll go to 12. So 11:4:6. Oh, it's this thing, you have to scroll a lot. Naranarayana Rishi, who is perfectly peaceful, is the best of sages, was born as the son of Dharma, and his wife Murti, the daughter of Daksha. Naranarayana Rishi taught the devotional service of the Lord, by which material work ceases, and he himself perfectly practiced this knowledge. He is living today, even today, his lotus feet is served by the greatest of saintly persons. Text 12. Something's wrong. Text 9. So, when Naranarayana Rishi thus spoke, eradicating the fear of the demigods. Oh, wait. I'm sorry, I'm being all mixed up here. We're going to text 7. Okay. Text 7. King Indra, being fearful, thinking that Naranarayana Rishi would become very powerful by his severe penances and seize Indra's heavenly kingdom, thus Indra, not knowing the transcendental glories of the incarnation of the Lord, sent Cupid and his associates to the Lord's residence in Badrikashram. As the charming breezes of spring created a most sensuous atmosphere, Cupid himself attacked the Lord with arrows in the form of the irresistible glances of beautiful women. The primeval Lord, understanding the offense committed by Indra, did not become proud. Instead, he spoke laughingly as follows to Cupid and his followers who were trembling before him. Do not fear, O mighty Madana. O wind god and wives of the demigods, rather please accept these gifts that I am offering you and kindly sanctify my ashram by your presence. My dear King Nimi, when Naranarayana Rishi thus spoke, eradicating the fear of the demigods, they bowed their head with shame and addressed the Lord as follows to invoke his compassion. Our dear Lord, you are always transcendental, beyond the reach of illusion. Therefore, you are forever changeless. Your causeless compassion towards us, despite our great offense, is not at all unusual in you, since innumerable great sages who are self-satisfied and free from anger and false pride bow down humbly at your lotus feet. So Krishna is worshipped by innumerable great sages who are self-satisfied, free from anger and false pride. Krishna is worshipped by these kind of people. And he's not going to allow himself to be worshipped by us if we are puffed up. The demigods place many obstacles on the path of those who worship you to transcend the temporary abodes of demigods and reach your supreme abode. Those who offer the demigods their assigned shares in sacrificial performances encounter no such obstacles. But because you are the direct protector of your devotee, he is able to step over the head of whatever obstacle demigods place before him. Some men practice severe penances to cross beyond our influence, which is like an insurmountable ocean with endless waves of hunger, thirst, heat, cold, and other conditions brought about by the passing of time, such as sensuous wind and the urges of the tongue and sense organs. So remember, all these things that the demigods are stating, people execute severe penances to overcome them. What are they? They are an immeasurable ocean of what? Hunger, thirst, heat, cold, all conditions brought about by the passing of time, such as sensuous wind and the urges of the tongue and sense organs. These are all caused by the demigods. These are all caused by the demigods. Nevertheless, although crossing this ocean of sense gratification through severe penances, such persons foolishly drown in a cow's hoofprint when conquered by useless anger. Thus they exhaust the benefit of their difficult austerities in vain. While the demigods were thus praising the Supreme Lord, the all-powerful Lord suddenly manifested before their eyes many women who were astonishingly gorgeous and decorated with fine clothes and ornaments, all faithfully engaging in the Lord's service. When the followers of the demigods gazed upon the fascinating mystic beauty of the women created by Naranarayana Rishi and smelled the fragrance of their bodies, the minds of these followers became bewildered. Indeed, upon seeing the beauty and magnificence of such women, the representatives of demigods were completely diminished in their own opulence. So the demigods are talking about how they make everybody else fall, and Naranarayana Rishi generates these captivating women, and although the demigods know perfectly well how illusion works, they become illusioned. The Supreme Lord of Lords then smiled slightly and told the representatives of heaven who are bowing down before him, please choose one of these women, whomever you find suitable for you, she will become the ornament of the heavenly planets. Vibrating the sacred syllable Om, the servants of the demigods selected Urvashi, the best of the Apsaras, placing her in front of them out of respect. They returned to the heavenly planets. So they had to place the woman in front of them, see her walk, all these kind of things, funny behavior. But all these are stated. So, so I'll stop my class there. Hare Krishna. It's a long class. Any questions or comments? Yes. We generally don't have long classes like this, but sometimes some things need to be stated.
Well, you're saying that mind is made to be attracted to the...
Yeah.
Why is it made so fickle? And then...
So that you can become bewildered. So that you can enjoy matter. Because you want to enjoy matter. To enjoy matter most efficiently, if you are a woman, then you get atho, griha, you get house, kshetra, you get land, property, something, land or occupation, atho, griha, kshetra, sutta, you get children, and then friends, relatives. With their occupation, you need money, janasya, then you have, friends, everybody else, moha, then you become illusioned and you forget Krishna.
I mean, it's designed so that people are bewildered.
Yes, this material world is designed to bewilder the conditioned living entities.
But it's also said that, it's also created so that we get purified, right?
Yes, both are there. But that purification has to come as a voluntary desire from the living entity. The living entity has to desire that, and that desire has to be greater than his desire to gratify his senses. Okay, anything else? Yes, Jitagirish.
At the very end of the purport, there's a statement
Which purport?
to the verse 2:7, the one we spoke on.
Okay.
Yeah, the last sentence of this purport I found, I'm not able to understand it. What do you think's?
Okay, one who does not know alleges foolishly that Lord Krishna enjoyed women in his Rasa Leela in Vrindavan or with his 16,000 married wives in Dwaraka. It means that Krishna is not captivated like a foolish illusioned man by the gopis or his queens. Krishna is always independent. Even the gopis, just before the Rasa Leela, when they exhibited little pride, Krishna exhibited the opulence of renunciation and left them. That is the point. That's why Krishna exhibits these things, so that people don't mistaken that he ultimately he is Supreme Personality of Godhead. He is the controller of everything. And all his Maya, whether it is Yoga Maya or Mahamaya, it's all under his control. He may appear as if sometimes he is bewildered or as if he is captivated, but that is not the case. Is that okay? All right, anything else? What's up, bro?
I was just, even though we analyze and we can understand and intellectualize and all this, Narottam Das Thakur says, sadhu kripa vina nahi. Without the kripa of the
without
sadhu,
the mercy,
you cannot do it. You literally,
It's true. 100%. Very good
especially
point.
being the Kali Yuga rejects that we are.
Yeah. It is not possible.
There's literally no freaking way we could do it.
You have to please
Yeah.
you have to please sadhus, you have to please spiritual master, you have to please Vaishnavas. There is no other way. There is really no other way.
There's literally no other way. I mean,
And if Vaishnavas bless us, then
it's possible. Then
anything is possible. Fate can be turned around. Everything can be done.
But if we simply think that I'm gonna run it home, do it ourselves.
Just do it yourself.
You can't. There's no razzmatazing your way back to the
No,
spiritual world. There's no bronco busting your way through brahmacharya.
The point is actually when an instruction is given, when the disciple makes attempt, seeing his attempts, the spiritual master Krishna and the Vaishnavas are pleased. When they are pleased, he gets the strength to follow it. He should not think that I fixed my japa. I fixed it by the mercy of the Vaishnavas. I attempted to fix it, they gave the mercy, and then it happened. Otherwise, it doesn't happen.
The important thing to understand is that the empowerment comes with the instruction.
Yeah.
It's there and it's available, and if for one who takes it to his heart,
Yeah.
then he should have implicit faith.
Yes.
Having that implicit faith in the order, and not just the guru and be a Kanishtadhikari forever, but the representative of the guru also.
Yeah.
By having
all devotees in general. Okay, Mataji's. There's a question online as well.
So I guess I don't. I understand that if we're constantly playing the victim of our circumstances, we can't become a pure devotee. But I guess it kind of pained my heart when because it seems as if a wife can be abused and cheated on and mistreated by her husband, but she's expected to be fine with it. I guess she's expected to just go on with her duty, and then if she does leave, she's crucified by the world, So it's just I don't understand that part,
So that, although that is explained as an example, from a case-to-case perspective, Srila Prabhupada didn't force his female disciples to stick with men who are unreasonable. The point is, from the Vedic perspective, these instructions are given on the basis of principle. The principle is that because in the household there can only be one master, and that master is the male of the house. Therefore, the woman has to adjust and cooperate. But it doesn't mean that there is by no means do the Vedic Shastras give that as a license for a man to act in any manner that he wants. Yet in Shastra, examples of women who have tolerated that which is intolerable is glorified because it takes a lot for a woman to be able to do that, and she's a very glorious personality because she tolerated it, and her exhibition of that chastity is being rewarded. Now, at the same time, nowhere do our acharyas state that that level of chastity has to be done when it becomes detrimental to one's Krishna consciousness. Therefore, one has to always conduct these matters under the guidance of senior devotees. And therefore, before marriage, one has to take all the precautions one can to avoid getting into that circumstance. There are all these that's why Prabhupada is saying a system of so-called family planning is required. Because one has to prevent this from happening. One has to prevent this from happening. And this particular example of devotee that I spoke of in the beginning of being served divorce papers, and the horoscopes weren't matched. I mean, I'm not saying that, again, astrologers can make mistakes. So many things can happen. Sometimes devotee go to astrologer and they think, I was just hearing, Maharaj question and answer session, Maharaj is saying, one couple goes to astrologer, which astrologer told both of you to get married? But someone told apparently. So that becomes their fate, So we don't know what our fate is going to be, but we have to try to take as much precaution as possible. But nowhere is it like a blanket rule that a woman has to tolerate all kinds of abuse and the man is given a free rein to do whatever the hell he wants. There is no such provision.
And then one more thing. So that verse where it was saying that a woman, her heart is so sharp or something because she doesn't really care for anybody, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, but then the pastime, I don't really know it so obviously, but like, if somebody was to kill like my brother, I feel like a natural instinct is I want to kill that person too, even if it is my cousin or, what I'm saying? So it's like
Hiranyakashipu wanted to kill Vishnu because his brother was killed. Right? So it's not just a woman who wants to do that. But in this case, specifically, Diti wanted to kill Indra, who is her nephew. I mean, somebody killed your brother is one thing, but this is another family member and he's actually like a son. And Diti should have not thought like that. Well, again, Indra had his reasons why he killed, and Vishnu had his reasons why he killed Hiranyakashipu and Hiranyaksha. But that's where affection tends to blind, a woman and people who are of the womanly concept of life from understanding the codes of religion, understanding dharma, and understanding these things from a platform of intelligence. Rather, everything is understood from the platform of emotion. And it doesn't mean that all women are like that. It means that, as I explained yesterday, the womanly form of life is a prototype. The species, as by nature, has that quality. And it represents that quality. And when that quality is found in others, that name is used. We can use whatever name we want. But that is the point. It is not that every single woman is like that. I made that point also. My mother is not like that. My mother doesn't want to kill, I'm making that point to make that very clear. The point is, it's just like Prabhupada said, Western, as he stated in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, the Western world, Western people are full of their milechas and yavanas, and they are filled with desires for sense gratification. That is true. So there are generalizations, but that doesn't mean that if there is a devotee who is trying to practice and becoming, trying to become a Vaishnava and he is a devotee, it doesn't mean that he particularly is full of desires for sense gratification. It just means that he's more susceptible to it because he has that body. That's all. Anything else? No, I have to.
You were mentioning about the demigods and how...
What?
The demigods and how when we're on our path and sometimes they'll put obstacles in our way. in primarily speaking about like even subtle things when it comes to like association with devotees. Sometimes they show in that way. And I was just wondering, like, how do you guard against those things when you're in association with devotees and you notice that that's the case and that you are moving in a way that's not so ideal for your devotional creeper?
So the way to guard ourselves is to be Krishna conscious. This is the example we understand from Naranarayana Rishi. Prabhupada gives the example that a confectioner is never attracted by sweetmeats as the person who comes to his shop. The person who comes to his shop may have only $10, that might be his all week's earning, and he goes and buys a sweet because he's attached to it. And he's lost all his money, but he wants to enjoy that sweet. But the person who makes the sweets, he doesn't think like that. So when one has the opulence of Krishna consciousness, then even though these other temptations may come, they flow in like the river flows into the ocean. And then that ocean does not overflow. Even though those rivers constantly come, the desires may constantly be there. So, Apuryamanam achala pratishtam. So that is the verse. So this is the point, that one has to be Krishna conscious. One has to develop taste for, Krishna. And when one develops taste for Krishna, then these lower modes of passion and ignorance do not crop up, even though we are tempted by doing so. Even for instance, just like here in the Naranarayana Rishi's pastime, there was every reason for him to get angry. And there are people who got angry. Example is Vishwamitra. First who came? First Menaka came, then Ramba. Was it Ramba, the second one? Anyways, he became, he had a daughter through Menaka. And then the demigods again sent after some time. Then he started resuming his practice of austerity. Then demigods sent, I believe it was Ramba. He got so angry, he caused her to become stone. So she became stone. But then he lost because he became angry. There was a reason for him to get angry. But he should not have become angry. We see Naranarayana Rishi, they are not angry because they are on the platform of devotional service. They say, anyways, you conditioned souls, this is what you will do. But they don't become, because they don't fall for that trap. So that's the point. Is that okay?
So then, I understand that point, but like say you don't notice, as these things are progressing, and then you get to a point where
you'll be able to notice. That's the point. You'll be able to notice. You'll be able to notice that if I may be with this devotee and I feel very angry towards them, or I'm quarreling, you will notice that by doing this, I am causing my devotional service to become weakened. You will notice that. You will notice that. Because Krishna gives that intelligence. But one has to be Krishna conscious. One has to do one's duties. If we chant our rounds properly, we do our sadhana properly, Krishna will give that intelligence. He say, hey, this is what's going on right now. And we will be able to, and our minds would not race so much that we won't be able to listen to that. Or we may hear it and we may not follow, but we will get that strength also to follow because we are sincerely endeavoring and trying. We may fail a few times, but we will eventually come to that platform. You will notice. Krishna is not leaving us blindsided, in devotional service. We're not walking blind with our eyes tied, and no, that's not how devotional service. Krishna says in devotional service, everything becomes visible. So, okay, last thing, yes. That's it. Gone a long time. Oh, there's one online. I got to take that. So, what is it? Where does desire come from? How is desire developed? Desire comes from the spirit soul. Desire comes from spirit soul. How is it developed? Living entity is active. He is not inert. Because he is active, he has to act. And the reason that he has to act means that that's where desire comes from. It comes because the living entity has to act. The living entity cannot be idle. The living entity is not an inert object, like a dead object. Living entity is an active living principle. And when that living principle wants to act, it develops desire to act. That's it, simple.
Bro, one question, so,
Oh,
okay, all right. Okay, I'll just make a comment then. So, Nidra Mataji, actually, she did not want to get married. I don't know if you know this, but
yeah.
she did not want to get married. But Prabhupada came to her in a dream and told her to get married, and therefore she got married. Although she did not want to
Although
do
she
it.
did not want to get
She
married.
did not,
because
she was
because
married
this
to
is-
Radha Govinda, since day. Prabhu, she's really, really powerful. She's a...
And to accept such an instruction, because she understands. Prabhupada emphasized that. Therefore, when Prabhupada came in her dream and told her that, she could recognize this is Prabhupada's instruction. She could recognize, because Prabhupada was anxious to get his disciples, his female disciples married, because that process is required for females. For women, that process is required. And Krishna's arrangement is so perfect, the women don't have to think, oh, but I want to get married, but if all the men want to become brahmanas. No, his system is very perfect. You will find a man. But you have to be patient, and you have to find the right man, not, mess things up.
Not
this is very
adharmically,
important.
Yeah. Don't do it.
The history is on your side. History is on your side. It's not on the side of those who want to stay brahmachari. But it's possible. Okay, Hare Krishna.
It has been done.
It has been done.
It can be done.
And it will be done. All right, Hare Krishna. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki